that we've seen so far. A different kind of book maybe because this is unlike all the others that we've seen so far. This is a fictional book in today's session. The others were non-fiction that we've encountered. Um, given our theme of today of India, independence and freedom, this book is kind of related to the topic, but it is also, I mean, because it deals with the current Indian scenario and with the question of freedom, it's very important in it. This is the book again. This is the title of the book is A Burning. It's written by Megha Majumdar. It's a novel. It came out recently, just 1 or 2 months ago, I think, amidst the pandemic and all that. And despite this unusual situation that we have going on of COVID-19, despite that, it got a really good reception from various quarters. So the author is actually a quite young lady who she was born and raised in Kolkata. This is her photo over here. And then she moved to the US for her education. She studied social anthropology. She works for a magazine over there where she edits. She's an editor and she reviews books over there. So this is her first novel, and it's been quite a success. I mean, so soon in such short a time. Because it's a work of fiction, I mean, obviously, I'm not going to spoil the book for you. I'm not going to tell you how it ends, what happens, but still, we need to talk about it. So, I might share a few things. And we can look at some key figures which are discussed in this book. As you can see from the cover, the colors and the images is very evocative. I mean, as the title itself suggests, burning. So this is where the book actually begins at. In the beginning, there is a scene where in a railway station in Kolkata, there is a burning of a train that happens over there. And at that moment, the main character of this book, who is a young girl, she happens to be there by chance. And what happens is that she becomes the target of this investigation when it happens, and she becomes the prime suspect. She's set on a trial. She goes to court for that, and the media also, I mean, pronounces statements on that. So, but the person about whom all of this is happening, who's set as, I mean, on trial as a terrorist over here, as someone who's responsible for burning that train, that is actually a very innocent person, I mean, quite a benign person. She's actually a very young Muslim girl who lives in one of the slums near the railway station where this event happened, and she works for pantaloons in the mall. I mean, where she's a salesperson. She sells jeans over there. I mean, her only her aspiration in life is to become a middle class person, because I mean she's coming from a slums background. This is what she wants. I mean, when she gets a new phone which she acquires by her own money, she becomes very happy. I mean, that's like one of the high points in her life. So this is the person we're talking about, and this is the person who, how it begins is that in the beginning, when this event happens, when the burning happens, a lot of people on Facebook, as one would expect, there's a lot of discussion that starts on Facebook, and people start sharing those videos and photos. And one such video is there where the person, one lady is crying, and she's saying that my husband was in the train, but the police were just standing over there. They didn't do anything. I mean, they didn't take any responsibility. So that video was being shared, and the main protagonist in this book also shares that video, and she gets into trouble for that actually, because she shares it with the comment that if the police are also standing and watching what's happening over there, are they also not equally culpable? Are they not responsible for what's happening? Are they not the terrorists also? This is a very seditious thing to say, as it turns out in the later part of the book, because I mean that becomes the trial against her, that sedition and terrorism, those things. But if you look at it, it's also a very silly thing to say, because I mean when she was posting it, I mean it was like a very boring, mundane day for her in the middle of the day doing her household chores. She just posts in a very nonchalant or in a very insignificant way. But we are seeing this again and again. I mean, even in recent times, we see that what one person might post on Facebook in a very insignificant or in a very, I mean, casual way, it can be taken very seriously by people, and it can be made into a very significant thing. So, I mean, this the whole, I mean, the dynamic of social media and uh, is what is also explored in this book. Um, this is one of the main characters in the book. There are two other characters in the book around whom the story revolves. So the other one is Lovely. She is a transgender woman, and this was a very interesting character actually, because I mean, when I was reading this character, I I mean, I thought about how we think about transgender people, right? Because we encounter them in public transport, and I mean, we don't pay much attention to them. Uh, or I mean, the only thing that we experience is irritation, probably. I mean, because when they come and they try to heckle you for some money, or demand some money from you, or they irritate you. But this, I mean, reading about this character, because this also is a very central character in this book. So you see life from the point of view of a transgender person. I mean, how it is for them, because it's a very different scenario over there, isn't it? Because there is there's a very limited scope in which they can function in society. They cannot, like the rest of us, mingle in society. They cannot have have a normal career like us. They have very specific roles which they can take up, and uh, very specific spaces where they are allowed. And this whole theme of marginalization is very important in this book. I mean, it's seen throughout the book, even in the case of, for example, the main character which I was speaking about, the girl who becomes the target of this media trial and court trial. Uh, that person whose name is Jeevan, who's a young Muslim girl, she also, I mean, there is this idea that we think that Facebook or uh, a platform like Facebook is like a free space, like, right, where you can express whatever you want, and anyone can express, and that seems very impressive about it. But actually, what happens is that some people can express other certain things, and other people cannot express those things, and it might happen, vice versa. But there's always this dynamic that happens. I mean, there's a certain privilege always, and there's a certain marginalization. So, I mean, this person, when she posted a certain kind of post on Facebook, she got in trouble for it because of her own background. But if someone else might have posted it, it might have been okay. And this is something we need. I mean, the author tries to really bring into focus how our different positions in society, our different privileges, I mean, have an effect on our freedom, the amount of freedom we have. So again, as I mentioned, the transgender person is also a great example of that. So this might seem, I mean, so far it might seem like a very serious book, but it's not actually. It's a very entertaining. It's like a actually my experience of it was like I was watching a TV show. I mean, I want to find out what happens in the next episode, and I mean, it hooks you right from the beginning, and it's a very easy read, in fact. But I mean, quite surprisingly, because it is quite an eloquent book, but it doesn't use difficult words at all. It does it in very plain language, very simple language, but the story is quite complex. Uh, there is a lot of humanity that you see because there are no pure villains or heroes in this book. Like all good fiction, uh, this book shows you human beings, the same human beings at certain moments they can be very courageous people, and at certain other moments they can be very selfish people. So uh, you have all of these things. Another main character in this book, but before I go there, I mean, when we're speaking about the transgender person, right, Lovely, who's the character, uh, she comes off as a very bold and a courageous character in the book, and I mean, I really felt that way about transgender people in general after reading this because I mean, if you think about it, their choice of life is a very bold lifestyle. I mean, they're not trying to hide who they are or their transgender identity. They are wearing it on their sleeves literally. Uh, and I suppose transgenders are those kind of people who, if you have like a staring contest with them, they're probably going to win. I mean, you can't stare them in the eye. I mean, they are better than at that than you, right? I mean, you can't match their confidence in that sense because I mean, their daily existence is an act of defiance against society. I mean, what could be more? I mean, they are practicing confidence on a daily basis in that sense. Um, what's really interesting is, yeah, I mean, again, these people don't think about log kya kahenge, obviously. So, I mean, what's really interesting is, I'd like to read a little bit from this book, where, as I mentioned, the story is told from the point of view of three characters, and whenever the character changes, the author is using this literary device of changing the voice. I mean, when you read it, you can feel that this is a different person who's speaking. So, for example, when you read the story from the point of view of this transgender person, Lovely, so this is how it goes. Sunday morning, time to go to acting class. With my hips swinging like this and like that, I am walking past the guava seller. Brother, I'm calling. What's the time? 8:30, he's grumbling, because he's not wishing to share with me the fruits of his wristwatch. Leave him. I'm abandoning my stylish walk and running like a horse to the local railway station. On the train, while I'm touching my chest and forehead, saying a prayer for those people who are dying a few days ago at the very station. Who is pushing? One auntie is shouting. Stop it. This hijra couldn't find a different compartment to hassle, the peanut seller is hissing. As if I'm not having ears. Nothing is simple for a person like me, not even 1 hour on the train. My chest is a man's chest, and my breasts are made of rags. So what? Find me another woman in this whole city as truly woman as me. I mean, so as you can see, I mean, this is really a very wild kind of. I mean, this character is like a wild card, or like a carefree person, like a confident person, and again, the audacity of that character comes out. So, um, before we open this up, I'd just like to mention that there's one more character. There are three characters, as I mentioned. That character also adds another twist to the story. I mean, uh, the character isn't named in the book. He's only called PT Sir. This is actually one of he was the former PT teacher of the main character, the Jeevan, the Muslim girl who got I mean who got into the court, who got arrested. Uh, her former PT teacher. So this person is a very kind of average person. He does. He's a PT teacher in an all-girls school. The only high point in his day is that he gets to come in the assembly and fix the mic whenever the mic is not working. So that's the kind of attention he gets over there. Apart from that, he's doing a very ordinary life. But at a certain point, he gets by chance he gets into a certain position. He's at the right place at the right time, and he finds himself in the middle of a political rally that's happening. And that politician, the political candidate comes to speak, and then there's a mic problem over there. And so this person volunteers and he goes to the stage and he fixes the mic and he gains this newfound, proximity with that person, this favor with that person. And now that opens many doors for him, and he gradually starts ascending into the on the political ladder. And you find how a very ordinary person can start having these. I mean, when he's tempted by political ambitions, the taste of power and those things, how I mean, what kind of ethical choices they're confronted with? Because as it happens, and this is where I'll conclude my presentation. As it happens, the person who got arrested and who got into the court, I mean, who's on trial right now for setting fire to those things. That person has two alibis. She was teaching the transgender person English at the night of the fire that had happened. But that transgender person has also dreams of getting into Bollywood. I mean, as an actress. I mean, she has those aspirations, and they're actually. I mean, she has made some progress over there, and she has a promising future over there. And this PT sir, he has this chance of getting higher up in the political ladder. So now these two people who are quite ordinary people and quite ethical and courageous people in other situations, they are faced with this choice whether or not to whether to choose their own aspirations, their own rise in life, or to choose justice for this innocent person who's on trial right now. Because if they go over there and if they say these controversial statements that this person is actually innocent, then they risk losing everything that they hope to gain. So this is the kind of conundrum that they are in, um, and this is quite a very fast-paced book, a very entertaining book, but also at the same time a very intellectually stimulating book. It gives you a lot to think about. Uh, yeah, I guess that pretty much sums up the book. If there are any questions or any discussion we can have on that, please please let me know what you think of the book. And it's a really fast-paced book, and I think you'll finish it quite soon if you start reading it. And you won't feel like putting it down if you start to read it.
What I feel, Sad, is that this seems to be very, insightful. The way the author has written this, I'm damn sure that this is the best debut novel. That's the reason. The way we are expressing it. Probably I'll be looking forward to read this.
Yeah,
Where is the
yeah,
context being set in Calcutta?
yeah. In present day Kolkata. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So, well, I mean, one more thing which I really find very interesting is that this author is coming from an anthropology background. She has a degree, a master's in anthropology, social anthropology, and I was checking out some of her interviews, and she was saying that, well, I mean, this is such a book that you can read in one sitting, or maybe in 2 days or 1.5 days, if possible. But it took her 4 years to write that book. The amount of research that went into it. For example, looking at the world from the point of view of a transgender person, because I mean, it's not something that comes naturally to us. So I mean, we have to really inhabit their shoes and see, how it appears. So she read a lot of what are known in anthropology as ethnographies, basically studies, from the point of view of the person how the world is. So she did a lot of research in those areas as well. I mean, and for example, how prison life is for women, for example, because the main character is sent to prison also, and that's a very dynamic part. What happens in the prison kitchen and those kind of things. The daily dynamics of prison life for women over there. So I mean, you can really see the anthropology angle that informs her writing over there. I mean, I guess anthropologists in that sense are, natural novelists because I mean they have an eye for looking at things as they are, of keen observation on things. Yeah. So any further comments or uh, I mean at this point this sums up my entire presentation. Uh, I'd like to invite some of the people who haven't joined, who have interacted, to please introduce yourself and please, I mean, share your feedback about how you found this session. I think Irfan, can you hear us? Or Abdul Rauf?
I can hear you clearly, sir. Okay, session was good. A bit long, I guess. Regarding your novel, uh, not novel, as in basically the fiction. Uh, I find it interesting, but since like I don't take that much interest in fiction, maybe I can look up and do a bit of research and see if something aligns to my goal. But
Yeah,
overall, it's good. As in.
yeah. Thank you. Yeah, actually, when you're reading it, it doesn't seem like fiction at all. It seems like something which can happen in our. I mean, which happens on a daily basis. I mean, it seems like you're reading some news report or something that's happened in the real world. That's that's the scary part of it, I guess.
Mhm.
I mean, it is
That's
so
really interesting about the background you just shared about the author from anthropology.
yeah. So, Muqtadir bhai, please offer your comments as well on this novel, and I think you would really enjoy this.
हेलो आवाज आ रही है ना मेरी
जी जी अरे,
मेरी क्या कुछ वैसे तो जब आप रिव्यू कर रहे थे मेरे घर से फोन आ गया था तो मैं एक्चुअल ज्यादा कुछ सुन नहीं सका
जी जी
तो वैसे तो वैसे रऊफ जब जस्ट बोले कि फिक्शन नहीं पढ़ते तो मेरे ख्याल से फिक्शन बहुत अच्छी चीज है रऊफ भाई पढ़ना चाहिए आपको
कोशिश करा बहुत बार लेकिन like I didn't try find it interesting.
So it was similar for me also. Just wanted to share my experience, Sadhbhai, and all of you. मुझे भी initially जो है, I'm a very avid, a non-fiction reader. But when I started reading a bit of fiction, I actually got interested into it. But it helps us to expand our imagination and think, beyond what is possible. The way the author is being visualizing. So I gave it a shot. For the last few months, at least, I've been enjoying it.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to that. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, Bilal.
Yeah, Khamar bhai, when you were reviewing India Wins Freedom, I mean, so I think one concern that you had was the personality of Maulana Azad itself is somewhat silent, right? So
Right. Yeah.
his Muslim nature, his Muslim identity is not very explicit there.
Right.
So, so in non-fiction, that is some, I can say, shortcoming, wherein like you are concerned with the issue rather than the identity of the person or the story behind that. So I think
Right. Right.
this novel, I mean, it's just a coincidence that the center of the novel or the main character at least is a Muslim character. So there's an increasing awareness about talking about the identity, especially the Muslim identity, the Hindu
True.
identity, the
True.
right wing.
True.
So I
True.
think for that reason we can try to
Mhm.
have a go at it.
Right. Right.
yeah, and I think I mean I'm just paraphrasing over here. I don't know the exact quote. I think Muqtadir bhai will help. But Manto also said, Sadat Hassan Manto also said that what fiction does is basically offer a mirror for society to see itself as it is presently.
Right, right.
Yeah. That's true.
Because a lot of things, I mean, especially the inner workings of society, I mean, what goes on in people's minds and in their daily lives, that doesn't come out in maybe, for example, a newspaper article or a magazine article, but it comes out. These things are really brought out in fiction. I mean, I guess fiction is in that sense more truer than fact because the center of fiction is human beings. But
Yeah,
fact uses the facts more than people.
yeah,
Fiction
yeah.
uses more than facts. Yeah,
Right.
true. So I guess we can wrap up our session for today. It's been a really
Sure.
wonderful session with you all. Thank you for joining. And uh, so this recording will be available on YouTube. So I just want to mention in conclusion that I mean, as all of you know, that I mean, our book club is open to all sorts of views, and I think this is a really important disclaimer, especially for today's event, that whatever views are being shared, we try to present what the author was saying, and uh, we do not necessarily agree with the author in everything that's being said. So I think that distance should be kept uh,
Right.
because I mean, as a book club and as people who are doing reviews, we are open to all sorts of things, and I think even that also was captured a bit in our book reviews because we had from I mean, as Muqtadir Bhai was also saying, from the left, right, and center. I mean, we try to have diversity in that sense. Uh, and we would not like to align ourselves with some or the other specific ideology or certain viewpoint, and we're open to it. So I guess with that we can wrap up today's session. Thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, Saad bhai. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.